We all know that the greenskin race is one of the most resilient and dangerous species amongst the major factions of the 40K universe. They have spread to every corner of the galaxy, surviving on feral worlds where the native flora and fauna is deadly to any invading force. They have been found in the toxic wastelands of long-abandoned mining worlds, and have even been discovered on barren asteroids floating aimlessly through space. To add to their resiliency, the orcs can multiply in a matter of days. A small population of greenskins will grow exponentially until the species covers the majority of the planet's habitable zone. Although brutish in nature, the orc society can quickly and effectively structure itself around a powerful and cunning leader. Orc empires have dominated regions of space for decades, if not millennia, and if left unchecked, they would enslave or outright slaughter any faction that stands in their way. With this impressive biological and martial advantage, it's a mystery why the greenskins aren't the dominant species in the galaxy. However, the truth is that the majority of orc wogs, or crusades of conquest, are halted not by powerful adversaries, but by the orcs' own infighting and lack of vision. If all greenskins were to somehow unify under one banner, without a doubt, they would have the military might to control the galaxy. And what this conquest would look like is what we're going to be talking about today in another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host Gershwan, and if you're new to the channel, we post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you like this style of content, smash the like button with the fury of a knuckle-dragging greenskin, and subscribe to the channel. I would also appreciate it if you could let me know what you think of this scenario in the comment section below. I really do appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you guys are enjoying Orktober, all the orc lore videos, more to come. But with all that said, let's get into 40 facts on the orcs' conquest of the galaxy. Planets burn as orcish tribal dances and war cries break out all across the galaxy. Might makes right, and the orcs have pummeled every opponent into the ground. The first thing I want to explore is what would the 40K universe look like if the greenskins dominated the galaxy. In this era of orc supremacy, enormous greenskin empires would form around major war zones. At the center of these orc domains would be the greenskin capital planets, but not all capital planets would be the same. Planets like Armageddon and Octarius that are current major hotspots would become war-torn monuments of the Orcs' destructive capabilities. Huge effigies of Gork and Mork would proudly stand over the burned rubble and ash of some defeated opponent's previous seat of power. To add insult to their deceased opponents, only bands of scavengers and low-level looters would roam the ruins of these continent-wide combat zones, looking for whatever scraps were left behind from the main Orc mob. Those capital planets not fully consumed by the orcs' savage mockery and rage would act as military hubs where the enslaved populations would either be worked to death creating bizarre weapons of mass destruction for their overlords, or act as training fodder for the greenskin warbands that wish to hone in on their brutality in combat. What Cadia was to the Imperium, these orc capital planets would be to the greenskins, centers of military might and bastions of defense. The proper fighting would exist on the borders of these orc domains, where the greenskins would allow some resistance to carve out a living. These rebels would be given the opportunity to build up their defenses and coordinate some form of military force, but when the greenskins' desire for war reaches its peak, the season for invasion would commence, and the orcs would assault the survivors. Once broken, but not fully dead, the greenskins would move on to another rebel group, giving the wounded and defeated enemy time to build up for the next go. When it would prove to be impossible to pull back on the green tide and they would completely slaughter their enemy, the greenskins would inevitably move on to invading other orc domains. This infighting would ensure that no orc empire would become stagnant, and the constant battle would keep each tribe and warband at an optimal fighting level. Faster than light travel would continue as it is today. Mechs would simply have more ships at their disposal to enter the immaterium. Raids into the warp without Geller fields or any other protective measure would cause a lot of casualties, but the greenskins would love every minute of these adventures. This would be the last true wild frontier. There would be one major change to travel for the orcs. The teleporter technology created by Orchimedes would become a common and widespread form of technology. Although it would require a tremendous amount of energy, a teleportation network would encompass the entire galaxy, where a warband on the eastern fringe could easily hop from one teleporter array to the next teleporter array until they reach the opposite side of the galaxy in just a matter of hours. Probably the best of all is I could see a big mech creating a teleporter highway where speed freak warbands could jump from one planet to the next planet, raising hell and traveling faster than the speed of sound. Now, for an orc-dominated galaxy to happen, the Greenskins would need to overcome all of the other major factions of the 40k universe. The way I see this playing out is by the great prophet of the Wog, Godskull Magorok Thraka, fulfilling his destiny and unifying all orcs through a series of raging great wogs. Armageddon was simply the first great wog to have been started by Thraka. After creating an almost never-ending battle between the Greenskins and the Imperium, Thraka left the system to enforce the Great Wog in the Octarian sector, between the Tyranids and the Orcs. With these two war zones becoming larger and larger, Thraka will initiate 3 more wogs. Once this crucial endeavor is met, the Prophet will reluctantly restructure his Orcs into the militaristic warrior race it once was. This is back when the Orcs were referred to as Krork, and they operated more like Blood Axe warbands than the modern-day savage Greenskins. An organized and martially disciplined army that stretches across the entire galaxy will easily break down every Imperial bastion, hunt down every Eldar or Dark Eldar fleet, overwhelm the slumbering Necrons, enslave the invading Tyranid fleets, and rip to shreds the slow and pathetic Tau Empire. While it seems impossible to imagine the Orcs actually conquering Terra and killing the Emperor of Mankind, and it's even harder to see the Orcs being able to stand a chance against the innumerable tendrils of the Tyranids, the Orcs under Godskull Magorok Thraka will not be your ordinary scatterbrained greenskins of the current era. Thraka will lean on the military minds of countless subordinate Blood Axe war bosses and depend on the resource support of the rich Bad Moon warlords. Basically, every single tribe across the galaxy will play their required role to slaughter the enemies of the Orcs and prove once and for all that the Orcs are the mightiest race in the galaxy. And that's a brief explanation as to what I think it would be like if the Orcs conquered the Milky Way galaxy or the Warhammer 40k universe. As I was writing this script, I kind of thought to myself, like, it's easy to say that the Orcs would conquer the Tyranids, they would conquer the Imperium and destroy the Emperor, but how would it actually look like? So for the next couple of 40 Facts videos during October, I'm going to be creating scripts that are basically Orcs versus the Necrons. How would the Orcs conquer and destroy the Necrons? Tyranids, the Imperium, so on and so on. So if you guys like that type of content, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be talking about that. If you guys want to watch some more lore that has to do with like the Orcs versus another faction, I've kind of already started this in previous episodes. So if you check out the playlist that I'm going to link above, it has like Orcs versus the Dark Eldar, it has Orcs versus the Necrons, and they're brief little like explanations of how those battles play out, and then huge epic battles that actually do occur within the lore. So stay tuned for that, and also just check those videos out for now if you want to. Now what I want to do is go back to yesterday's 40 Facts video, the 40 Facts and Lore on the Odd Boys in Warhammer 40k, and answer some of the questions that you guys left off in that episode. We're going to continue posting Orc lore videos, so if you guys have any suggestions or any questions for me for the future video, just comment down in the comment section below. But let's get into the questions. So this one comes from Sime Gore. Are there chaos variants of weapons of mass destruction, like exterminatus, virus bombs, etc.? So when it comes to weapons of mass destruction, not really, because like chaos wants to keep things as chaotic as possible for the longest amount of time. They love never-ending wars. They love demonic incursions that can persist for as long as possible. The closest thing you can get to a weapon of mass destruction are the plague virus bombs that that Nurgle's followers use. So they'll basically create like a plague planet or like plague zombie infestation on a planet, and that slowly destroys or corrupts the entire planet. We have a 40 Facts video on that too, so if you check out our 40 Facts and Lore on the plague zombies, that gives you a further explanation as to what the process is on the planet, of how it goes down and stuff like that. But as far as like other chaos gods, most of the stories are slow demonic incursions that usually climax with the huge explosion of a warp rift opening, or a warp portal opening, and demons just pouring out and just butchering and slaughtering and stuff like that. So I guess the weapon of mass destruction is basically just a tear in reality and letting the Immaterium come in. No physical weapons that like go and explode. But yeah. Next question comes from... this one comes from Brandon Frakes. After watching you guys for months and months, I've decided to take the leap and get my own army and start playing. I've decided on the Blood Angels, but have no idea where to begin. Could you help me out and tell me what I need to start my own Blood Angels army, including codexes, painting items, and army list for beginners? I know it's asking a lot, but after watching your channel and hearing the lore, I have this burning desire to dive into the hobby 100%. It's hard to explain, but I can't get it out of my mind, and I want to say thank you for the passion, time, and effort you put into what you do. I can't wait to build, paint, and assemble my own army and see what I can do. That's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. And that's really the reason that we create these 40 facts videos. Well, the reason that I like to talk about the 40K lore. That's what draws me into the tabletop. That's what keeps me building and painting. It's the lore. If it's just the lore, like, I don't think it would do it for me. Like, there has to be some physical element, which is the miniatures, that keep me going with this hobby, and I'll probably continue this hobby forever. So the fact that I'm inspiring you guys to start the tabletop, it's awesome, because it's a fun hobby. But my advice would be, first get the Space Marine Codex, and then unfortunately you have to buy a Blood Angels supplement right away. The Space Marine Codex kind of explains the rules, the baseline rules of the Space Marines, and then the Blood Angels gives you like the buffs and all the extra, like what are they called, like relics and information for the campaign and stuff like that. The next thing you want to do is kind of figure out, who are you going to be playing with? If you're going to be playing with a group of friends, and being competitive isn't really like what you're looking for, you're just kind of looking to build and paint your own army, that's awesome. Then go on to Games Workshop, the site, and then just scroll through all the miniature options and select which ones seem to be the most badass, because again, you're not really playing for to become like the best tabletop player or a competitive winner. You're just kind of there. If you are kind of in the middle of being competitive and not, then jump on the forums and try to get a competitive list for Blood Angels. If you want to buy something right now, what I would recommend is buying, I think it's the Combat Patrol for the Blood Angels. It comes with a Primaris tank, I forget what it's called. It comes with, I want to say 2 units of, 1 unit of intercessors, and the other one, that's like another unit of something. And then more importantly, a librarian. You get the librarian at a discounted price, which is why it's bundled in a box. It's a combat box or a combat patrol. But that librarian seems to be really popular for metagaming. So like actual competitions and actual like winning the game, which is important. And that's like a whole subject that we can get into in another video. But yes, that's what I would recommend. Get the 2 codex, and then get the patrol box. And I keep pointing that way because I actually have one. I haven't built it or anything, and I'm not going to do Blood Angels. I'm going to do like a successor chapter of my own. But yeah. Thanks for that question. Next one comes from William. William asks, aside from the currency-less utopia of the Star Trek universe, I think the orc economy is the most brilliant. Yes, it's like natural. It's the fact that teeth or orc teeth rot, that helps with inflation, and it also like proves that, like, at the end of the day, might makes right. If an orc is toothless, for some reason they have a gum disease that doesn't allow them to grow teeth, that doesn't mean that they're going to be poor, because they could always just bash the face out of another orc and then take it, and that fulfills their whole little like economy, and that fulfills like their cultural need for violence and all that kind of stuff. So yes, they're awesome. This next question comes from Magos Dominus. Can orcs have different color skins? Yes. So usually the darker the orc is, the longer he's been alive and the more fights he's been in. It's rumored that like the the orcs that existed either on Armageddon. I can't remember if it's Armageddon or the ones that are fighting with Tuska the Demon Killer in the warp. Like they're just black. They're pitch black, kind of like salamander Nocturian skin. So there's different color orcs. Also, there's red orcs. Those are Khornate orcs. They're devoted to, or they have fallen to the corruption of Khorne. But usually other orcs don't like red orcs. So they try to get rid of them as quickly as possible if they enter a band. If you want to learn more about Chaos Orcs, I have a 40 facts video on it. I'll put a link up above. And then this is going to be the last question. This question comes from Jake LOL 1980. Which one is smarter, Orcs or Gretchen? Gretchen are smarter. They're the smallest of the orcoid species. They're smarter. I think I have a 40 facts video on this too. If you look up the orc reproduction cycle, it explains how first comes the mushrooms, then comes the squigs, then the snotlings, which are like grots, like very, very like diminutive Gretchen, and then finally the Gretchen, and the Gretchen organize the entire thing for the greenskins who come next. I'll put a link up above to that video explaining the reproductive cycle of orcs as well. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to answer the questions that you guys leave off in this video. And yeah, this is Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, if you could put my freedom back in